We open right in the middle of a chaotic, high-stakes brawl. It looks like Mary Jane Watson is completely surrounded by Spider-Man's greatest enemies. We see her engaging in physical combat with Dr. Octopus, dodging his mechanical arms and landing a solid hit. Immediately after that, Kraven the Hunter lunges at her with knives, screaming, but MJ is too quick. She parries the attack and strikes back. Then she spins around and delivers a massive kick to another attacker, sending them flying. Finally, Dr. Octopus tries to grab her from behind, but she turns and confronts him head-on, fists raised, declaring, "Oh no, you don't, Buster!" It's an intense start that establishes MJ as a capable fighter right out of the gate. The fight continues for a split second. Doc Ock gets a hit in, and MJ is restrained by the mechanical tentacles. She cries out for help, shouting that she's been restrained. But suddenly, a voice yells, "Cut!" The illusion shatters. We aren't on a battlefield at all, we're on a film set. The lights come up and the crew moves in. It turns out they are shooting a sizzle reel for investors. MJ immediately shifts from action hero to professional actress. She approaches a crew member named Mallory, asking for a minute of her time. Mallory is hesitant but agrees to talk. MJ asks if the director, Mr. McKnight, is around because she desperately needs to talk to him. She reveals her frustration. The dialogue she's being asked to say is bad, like really bad. She's worried about the quality of the production. We move to the trailers outside the soundstage. MJ is trying to track down the director, Cage McKnight. She continues talking with Mallory, saying she doesn't want to sound ungrateful, but she wants to discuss her character's motivation. She keeps moving while talking, helping her way through the chaos. She grabs a light stand, which Mallory asks her to drop. MJ keeps venting, explaining that in the script the girl exists only to drive the hero's story. She's also curious about the protagonist, which feels like an unusual choice. Mallory tells MJ to ask the camera guy about the director. As they step out of the trailer, the actor playing Peter Parker walks by, repeating his script lines for the scene. Outside, MJ asks a crew member, a huge guy who turns out to be the villain Kangaroo, if he has seen Cage McKnight. He tells her to check the craft services table. Crafty. MJ sighs, frustrated that the director is so hard to locate. MJ finally corners the man she believes is Cage McKnight at the food table. She calls him out on his suspicious behavior. She points out that she didn't question the number of felons hired on set because McKnight has a reputation for authenticity. She notes that the film is, oddly enough, a sympathetic biopic about the villain Mysterio. She demands to know why he is avoiding his lead actress, the specific actress he claimed to have written the role for. She reminds him that he cast her without even an audition because he was so passionate that it had to be Mary Jane Watson. She realizes something is wrong and asks what kind of con this is. When he stammers and can't give her a straight answer, MJ decides she's had enough. She tells him, "I quit." She refuses to be a wide-eyed ingenue scammed by empty promises of stardom and turns to leave. Desperate, he yells, "Wait!" This is the big reveal. The director drops his disguise. His face ripples and changes. He confesses, it's him, Quentin Beck, Mysterio. MJ is shocked, shouting, "You?" Beck begs her not to go and just hear him out. He explains that this disguise was the only way to tell his story, because nobody respected him until he wore a different face. He admits it was wrong, but claims this movie is the culmination of his life's work, the most important thing he will ever make. He hints that he doesn't know how much time he has left. He pleads with her, saying he can't do this without her because he wants to do something good while he still has the chance. He reveals that MJ's character is based on someone very important to him, someone he failed, and this movie is his attempt to do right by her. He insists it has to be Mary Jane. He ends with a desperate question. Will you stay? MJ crosses her arms, skeptical but listening. She asks what is real and what isn't about the production. Beck assures her that almost everything is real. The media attention, the Academy hype, the script, and the crew. MJ points out that she noticed a lot of superpowers among the crew. Beck admits some are criminals, but claims it's all above board and that he's paying them industry standard rates despite their inexperience. Then MJ realizes the horrifying implication. She asks about the real Cage McKnight. She demands to know if Beck has done anything to him. Beck casually admits, "Of course I have." We cut to a visual of the Falkland Islands, where the real Cage McKnight is seen photographing penguins. Beck explains that he sent the director there, and McKnight thinks he's shooting a movie called The Jaws of Penguins. Back on set, Beck explains that the generous executive producers only funded the film because they believe he is the real Cage McKnight. He notes that he couldn't have secured that funding as a first-time director. MJ asks if the real director is safe, and Beck insists that he is fine and enjoying himself in the Falklands. To prove it, Beck pulls out his phone and shows MJ a live video feed from a baby monitor app he's using to watch him. He praises McKnight as an immersive auteur who uses practical effects. He jokes that casting the right penguin will keep the director busy for at least a year. Beck says this gives him enough time to complete his magnum opus. MJ looks at him, processing everything. She sums up the insanity. He is making a biopic that empathizes with him, the villain, without apologizing for it. He secured funding through fraud. He staffed the production with felons and villains. Beck confirms all of it with a simple yes. MJ puts her head in her hands and says, "This is insane." Then she looks up and delivers the shocker, "I'm in." Beck explains that he wanted to give the crew a chance to create something meaningful. MJ yells, "But," and points a finger at him. She lays down a condition. They have to rewrite some of her scenes. Beck gets defensive, asking what's wrong with how he wrote her character. MJ starts to explain, but Beck pushes back, saying he won't be extorted into expanding her screen time just because she's chasing Oscars. MJ cuts him off and tells him firmly, "It's bad, Quentin." She gives a specific example. The script calls for her to fight in a squeaky latex catsuit that already ripped twice yesterday. She points out the impracticality and the poor writing of the female lead. Beck tells her to follow him so they can discuss it. They arrive on the main soundstage. Beck wants to give her a tour of the set pieces because he refuses to go over budget-building new ones. MJ says she can work with what they already have. She circles back to the script issues, saying her biggest problem is that her character is underdeveloped and doesn't truly serve a purpose in the story. Beck argues that she does have a purpose. She is the only one who shows kindness to the main character and believes in him, making her the catalyst for his development. Suddenly, Beck points out some robots on the set. MJ asks about them, and Beck coughs before admitting they are real robots he had in storage. MJ fires back, asking why a character with no superpowers is fighting alongside Mysterio in a latex catsuit. Beck replies, "Because she's in love with him." MJ suggests flipping it. Let the character fall for him because she is already there, fighting alongside him despite having no powers. Beck argues that this is actual character development and that it helps the character self-actualize. The two are now driving around the studio lot in a golf cart. Beck is driving as they continue their creative meeting. MJ pleads with him to see that giving her character a compelling backstory and her own reason for being there opens up the narrative. She explains that this would let the audience understand why the protagonist is worth falling in love with, meaning the audience falls for him at the same time. Beck starts to see the logic and agrees enthusiastically, saying, "Yes, precisely." He mentions that he's also interested in why a character without powers would choose to fight alongside people who do have them. MJ suggests this opens another angle in her backstory, maybe a revenge motivation or a tortured youth past, though Beck admits they don't have time to fully explore that. For the first time, they are genuinely collaborating and improving the script in real time. The collaboration suddenly hits a snag. While they're talking, MJ jokingly asks if she's hearing hints of a spin-off sequel in Beck's excited tone. A crew member behind them mocks the director, implying that this closeness is how MJ got her role. This instantly enrages Beck. He grabs the crew member and snaps, asking if he really thinks genius can be fooled by womanly wiles. Beck is furious at the interruption. He stares at the man, then slowly begins clapping his hands in a steady rhythm. He says, "We are making art here." With each clap, we see its effect on the man. Beck appears to be using his technology or powers to disorient or attack him without ever touching him. The clapping sound effects, clap, overwhelm the man's senses. MJ watches, surprised and clearly disturbed by this sudden show of aggression and power. Beck looms over the man, now collapsed on the ground, and coldly says, "You're fired. Where's security?" He demands that someone get this clown off my set. Around them, crew members raise their phones, filming the entire outburst. Just as quickly, Beck snaps back to normal and continues the tour as if nothing happened. He shows MJ a massive carnival set. He explains that this set piece is also real, mentioning that during his villain career, he once used a similar setup to make Spider-Man believe he was trapped inside a tiny toy carnival. He casually notes that he used lots of psychedelic gas for that scheme, all while holding a drone controller. Beck continues explaining the carnival plan, saying he even looked into shrinking the entire cast and crew to use a scale model as the actual set, referencing Pym particles and shrink rays, but eventually decided against it. A giant Mysterio helmet prop looms in the background. MJ is impressed by the sheer scale of everything. Beck talks about the media attention the production is getting, though he admits he's committed to honoring the budget, which sadly lacks the trillions of dollars required for his grandest visions. This setup, he says, is a compromise. Paparazzi are everywhere, of course, since the holograms are likely visible from space. Beck shrugs and says he's started thinking of them as part of the marketing campaign. Suddenly, MJ bursts out laughing. Beck asks what's so funny. She apologizes and explains that she just realized something. She is going to have so much fun making this movie. She fully embraces the chaos. We jump forward in time. A close-up of Spider-Man's mask fills the panel. He's on the phone, telling MJ that he thought it might be weird for her to star in a glamorous biopic glorifying your boyfriend's evil nemesis. The camera pulls back to reveal Spider-Man in the middle of a fight, clinging to a wall and dodging attacks from an octopus bot. He asks MJ what she's wearing. MJ, at home and pouring tea, replies flatly that she's wearing artfully arranged scraps of lace. Spidey vividly describes his own situation, saying he's in tight leather pants and somehow soaking wet for some reason. Mid-conversation, the robot attacks again, but Peter quickly webs it up. MJ asks him to be honest and tell her if he's uncomfortable with her doing this movie. The call continues. MJ is now sitting on her couch in Spider-Man pajama pants. She reminds Peter that they already talked about this. The movie isn't really glorifying Mysterio. It's using a supervillain as an unreliable narrator, more like Breaking Bad. She stresses that this project is a huge deal for her acting career in the long run. Meanwhile, Spider-Man, back in his classic suit, is taking selfies with fans in a crowd. He sighs and admits she told him everything about the glorious Cage McKnight, the Academy darling. He asks if McKnight is really as tall as IMDb claims. This is the dramatic irony. Peter has no idea McKnight is Mysterio. MJ lies and simply says yes, adding that he is singularly focused in his artistic vision. Back at MJ's apartment, she snaps a photo of herself. Peter, now out of costume and looking like a normal civilian, is shopping in a bulk goods store. He gets her text photo and stammers, saying, "Gosh, you're pretty." Still on the phone, Peter asks MJ to show him what else she isn't wearing. MJ laughs and reassures him. She knows he's just checking to make sure she doesn't feel threatened working with Cage. Peter admits he's heard horror stories about Hollywood and can't help worrying. MJ confidently reminds him of the time she took down an actual villain all by herself using only a baseball bat. Peter asks, "Which time?" And MJ replies, "Exactly." Peter jokes about what happens if she ends up surrounded by film industry sharks and monsters instead of real villains. Suddenly, music starts playing on MJ's end. Peter asks what it is. MJ tells him to put her on speaker. She hesitates, saying, "Wait, here, now? Babe, I'm out in public." But then insists, "Oh, we're doing this, Tiger, right now." Peter is embarrassed, but goes along with it because it lifts both their moods. It becomes a 20-second dance party. The page splits into panels showing both of them dancing. MJ grooves in her apartment wearing Spidey pajamas. Peter dances in the middle of the grocery store in his civilian clothes. It's a pure, wholesome moment that connects them despite the distance and the secrets. Peter finally admits, "Ugh, I miss you so much." The tone shifts sharply on the final page. We see a television screen showing news coverage of the Cage McKnight movie set. The camera pulls back to reveal who's watching. It's the Sinister Six. Vulture, Rhino, Scorpion, and the others are gathered in a dark hideout. Vulture sits at the center and says, "Well then," he adds, "it appears we are headed to Los Angeles." The issue ends on a clear threat. Mysterio's old colleagues now know where he is, and they're coming to crash the production.